The Sacramento Kings, in my opinion, going into this year, are going to be one of the most underrated teams in the league. Now, am I saying that I think they're going to be a championship contender or anything like that? No, maybe a dark horse contender if everything goes their way, possibly. But I do think they're going to be a very, very good team and definitely a playoff level team going in this year. And no team is going to want to play the Sacramento Kings in the first round of the playoffs either. I can guarantee you that. And I'm not even a Kings fan. I just think they have a very underrated roster. And they really haven't been getting talked about enough, despite, in my opinion, being one of the better teams in the entire Western Conference. And I just think for sure they're going to go in and probably shock a lot of people because not a lot of people are talking about them. And now, yes, partially is that because they play for Sacramento. Nothing happens to Sacramento, and I mean, even historically, Sacramento has been dog shit in the NBA. But right now, I think they're ready to really be good and really be a solid playoff level team, and I have a few different reasons why. So if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the video all the way through. Without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. And the first thing I want to get into is going to be the fact that I think the Sacramento Kings have legitimately one of the most underrated big threes in the entire NBA. Now, look, that's one of the most important things. If you look at most contending teams, they have three unbelievably talented players, or they have two very good players surrounded by a ton of elite role players. And the Sacramento Kings have three very, very solid star level players, in my opinion, and that is one of the more underrated ones because usually with these type of big threes get talked about, but the Sacramento Kings, I haven't really heard anyone even call them a big three, which is borderline shocking in my opinion, as the first member of this big three is going to be De'Aaron Fox. Now, De'Aaron Fox, everybody knows who he is. He's a not ball dominant in a bad way, but he's a point guard, so he's going to be bringing the ball up the floor. He's a point guard of this team. He's a very good passer. He can score from literally anywhere on the court. He can make his own shot at any time. He's very clutch as well. He's made a lot of game winners in his day, and he's just overall one of the best guards in the entire league, and is another guy that probably doesn't get the credit he fully deserves with how good he's been throughout his entire career. And he is a perfect number one option really in this big three because he can at times become unguardable when he is hot, and he can just score at all three levels whenever he wants. And on top of that, his defense is also not bad either, as he averaged 2 steals a game just last year. There's a reason he is called Swiper, okay? Swiper, no swiping. That's what De'Aaron Fox does, okay? He's just super fast. Can score everywhere. Is just a very, very good player in this league and probably one of the more underrated ones in the entire league as well. And then the second member of this big three is going to be Domantas Sabonis. Now, Domantas Sabonis is one of the best offensive bigs in the entire league. He's a multiple-time All-Star. He's just an unbelievable player. He's an excellent rebounder. He's a very good passer for a big man as well. And it's just overall an unbelievably positive offensive presence for any team he would be on, and he fits perfectly with De'Aaron Fox. For the past few years, they have been playing unbelievably high-level basketball together, especially on the offensive end. Now, yes, Sabonis definitely has his issues on the defensive side of the ball, and he's definitely an undersized center in this league, but offensively is about as good as it gets from that big man position. He can shoot the three, he can hit a fadeaway, he can score in the paint, he's strong, he's a great rebounder like I said earlier. So just overall an extremely good player, and offensively it's very hard to guard them in the pick and roll because of how good they can both do. They can pick a pop, they can pick a roll, they can literally do anything, them two together, and they have been one of the best offensive duos in the entire league for a few years now. And the new addition to this big three is going to be DeMar DeRozan, who they just traded for this offseason. Now, DeMar DeRozan, we know what he does. He's one of the greatest mid-range shooters in the league right now. He's been a consistent 20-plus point per game scorer for what seems like a decade at this point. He's been in the league forever. He's a great veteran, and on top of being one of the best mid-range shooters, he's a solid three-point shooter, and he's also a pretty solid defender as well. And overall, it's just a great veteran presence to have. He's played at extremely high levels, would have probably 100% have made a NBA Finals if it wasn't for LeBron. So DeMar DeRozan knows what it takes to win. He knows how to play good basketball in multiple different systems, as we saw it with Toronto and Chicago, and hopefully now with the Sacramento Kings, and even with the Spurs. So really, DeMar DeRozan is overall just an extremely, extremely solid player. Not one of the more underrated because everybody respects him and knows what he is, but in my opinion, is still playing at a very high level despite being 35 years old, and he is just overall very solid, and every team would love to have him on their roster, and for that to be their third option is extremely, extremely exciting. And the reason I am so high on this big three is because I think they're all going to work together very well. De'Aaron Fox being the guy who, yes, can score from everywhere, and when you need a bucket, he is probably going to be the guy you'd go to, but due to his passing ability as well, he fits very well with Domantas Sabonis, because Sabonis lives in the paint basically, although he can shoot the three when he needs to. Sabonis likes to be in the paint, do the kind of mid-range jump, hook shot, fade away, things like that, and that's where he really makes his money. And then DeMar DeRozan makes some money in the middle of where them two score, and then he likes to more shoot the mid-range game, obviously, and get to the bucket. So they all kind of score from different areas and bring their own different styles to the court, and that should mix very, very well, because a lot of big threes you will see, they don't fit very well together because they play very similar or too similar, and they don't really mesh well, and although they're talented, they just don't fit together, and they don't really lead to wins like you would think their amount of talent would. But in this situation, I think they're all three very talented players, and all three do very different things, and are going to be able to mesh very well and won't step on each other's toes, and overall should be an extremely efficient and good starting big three for anybody. Once they really get going in the regular season, they build chemistry together, they should learn how to play together more and more and more, and then to be able to really mesh, because I think their skills really do fit together in what they want to do, and that's not a lot you can say for most big threes in the NBA. And I think the Kings got one of the most underrated, I know I sound like a broken record, but one of the most underrated big threes in the entire NBA right now. And then even outside of just the big three, their overall team is pretty nasty. As I mean, look at the other two starters alongside that big three I just mentioned. Their other two starters are someone like Keon Ellis, who's a shooting guard who just had a breakout year last year, and the reason he leads to winning so much because like their winning percentage went way up when Keon Ellis got inserted to the starting lineup and became a full-time starter, and that's because he plays his ass off. He plays very hard. He can shoot the three at an extremely good clip. On top of that, he's a very good defender, and he's always playing at like 110%, and he's just overall a player that you love to have on your roster, because he's one of the guys that does all the dirty work. He's always playing hard, and you can just fully rely on him being able to do his job and his role, and that is exactly what Keon Ellis does. And he was only in year 2 when he was doing that last year, so he's only going to keep improving, only going to keep getting better and better and better, and that is a very dangerous proposition for a lot of teams, because he was already extremely good last year, and his style of play leads to winning at a very high level. And then even Keegan Murray, who's probably their fourth option on offense. Keegan Murray is a sniper from the three-point line, and on top of that, he is 6'8", which is a solid athlete as well, so he matches up defensively with most wings in the NBA, on top of being able to spread the floor for guys like Domantas Sabonis to get to work, and even guys like DeMar DeRozan, and clearing up the mid-range lanes and things like that. So overall, I think the starting five is going to fit together very well. They all do very different things, they all play different, but they all complement each other as well, and I think that is very rare to see a starting five that all complement each other with no roadblocks at all, and I think that is what exactly this is going to do, because with Ellis being able to shoot, with Fox being able to shoot, and with Keegan Murray being able to shoot the three at a very high efficient rate, that's going to spread the floor a lot for guys like Domantas Sabonis and guys like DeMar DeRozan, who like to get more inside the arc to score. So overall, they should fit extremely well together on both sides of the ball, and I'm going to get into the defense side of the ball a little bit later in this video as well. And then just to touch on their depth even further, their bench is no joke either. As Kevin Huerter, they have Sniper, we know what he does. Alex Len is a solid big in this league, nothing special, but is a very solid backup big. Malik Monk won 6th Man of the Year last year. We know how good he is. Jordan McLaughlin, he's very solid as well. And then, although I'm just going to mention him, even though he's probably not going to play, Devin Carter, he has an injury, but if he can somehow find his way back on the court, my God, is he an amazing two-way potential guy. Like, he is a very solid, good rookie to have. No, if they can find a way to get him on the court after his injury, that would be huge. But even if he can't play this year, going forward, Devin Carter is going to be a huge part of this team. But even without him for this year, their bench is extremely good. Their starters complement each other perfectly, in my opinion. And I think they're overall going to fit extremely well. Because if you can have an elite starting five that is then complemented with the 6th Man of the Year and Malik Monk with other backups behind him that are even solid, that's going to be extremely hard to deal with when you're trying to match depth for depth, especially later in the season and into the playoffs, where depth matters a lot, or high quality depth matters a lot in the playoffs. So I think for sure it's going to be very interesting to see how this team fits together and how good they can possibly be. But if they can really mesh quickly, this is going to be a dangerous team. And if they make the playoffs when they are fully meshed, this team is going to be absolutely dangerous. And like I said, nobody's going to want to play them when it comes to that time. And the reason this team being deep and having such complementary players players together is so important to me is because it leads to the most important thing in today's game, and that is being a very good two-way team. There's a lot of teams that are good on offense but terrible on defense, and there's a lot of teams that are great on defense but terrible on offense, and that is not a recipe for success, especially when it comes to high-level playoff basketball. You have to be good at both, and if you look at all the NBA Finals winning teams, they're always super high in offensive and defensive efficiencies, so you have to be both good on both sides, and that is exactly what this Sacramento Kings team is set up to be. As last year, they were ranked 12th in offensive efficiency and 15th in defensive efficiency. Now, those aren't terrible numbers. It's above average on offense and average on defense, literally in the middle of the pack. So with them adding guys like DeMar DeRozan, hopefully Devin Carter, if he can somehow play, which is unlikely, Jalen McDaniels and players like that, and also guys like Keon Ellis getting better, and even Keegan Murray, who's only in year 3 now, getting better and better every single year, their offensive efficiency should 100% go up because, I mean, DeMar DeRozan is one of the best mid-range guys, and he's probably going to make this offense a lot more dangerous. So that could very easily move into the top 10, 5, or 8 in this year easily. And then even on defense, adding a guy like DeMar or like Jalen McDaniels, that can legitimately make your offense even better as well. And on top of the fact that Keon Ellis didn't even become a full-time starter till I think like midway through, or maybe like a few quarters of the way through last season. And I think for sure that if him being a full-time starter from day one with DeMar DeRozan, with them now having chemistry together and getting a whole training camp together and everything like that, this team should 100% be better on the defensive side of the ball as well. And they could legitimately end up being top 10, top 12 in both sides of the ball, which is 100% good enough to have high-level winning basketball. Because if you're good on both sides of the ball, that means you're bad at basically nothing. And it's going to be very hard to beat a team with a big three of Fox, Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan, and also having to beat them in the playoffs. It's just going to be very tough. I can't see a team that's going to want to play them. I don't see this team being bad in any way. And just overall, I think the Kings are an extremely, extremely underrated roster. But unfortunately, guys, that's my first video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Kings are underrated? How good do you think they're going to be? What are your thoughts in the comment section below? If you like, point hit the like button and subscribe button. That's the word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Because I had a blessed day, so you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo.